just feel like something's behind me watching us. I really do, like I've never felt before.
Phantoms, poltergeist and terror all await the most haunted team in Derbyshire.
Hello and welcome to Most Haunted.
Our location today has been home to the same family for centuries. But with generations of success and prosperity, there must also be a measure of sorrow, suffering and death. These vulnerable walls play host to many sightings of supernatural activity, ranging from spirit lights to full-body apparitions. With all this in mind, I just had to bring you to Tissington Hall. Situated at the southern tip of the Peak District National Park, the village of Tissington is the ancestral seat of the Fitzherbert family. The hall was built by Francis Fitzherbert in 1609 on the site of a medieval moated manor house, although the area itself has a much older history of habitation, with locally discovered human remains dating back to the Bronze Age. During the Civil War, the family sided with the king, and the hall became a garrison for royalist troops, many of whom died in a bloody skirmish with advancing parliamentarian forces. It remains in family hands, and with the violent unrest of the past forgotten, Tissington Hall seems a peaceful haven. But with so much history and so many rooms to explore, who can say what might await us on this investigation?
The amazing thing about this place is that up until recently, it has not really been known as a haunted property. You look at any guidebooks, you look in any history books or ghost books concerning Derbyshire, you will never find a mention of Tissington Hall.
Room 4 seems to be the main focus for a lot of paranormal activity in the building. Many people have witnessed a dark phantom sitting at the bottom of this bed. They've also known the bed to move, shake and vibrate. In the dead of night, many people have woken up to find a dark figure and feel a presence standing above them. Humming has also been heard, and the strange smell of lavender permeates in this room for no apparent reason. This library was built in the early 1900s and is home to some very strange activities. Many people have heard unexplained noises. The temperature drops for no apparent reason. Lamps vibrate and move on their own, and a small animal thought to be the ghost of a cat has been seen and felt in this room many times.
There's a wonderful story about a girl called Wilhelmina. Her real name is Wilhelmina Fitzherbert. In 1862, it's believed she was in bed, got up for some reason, holding a candle. The wind blew the candle, and her nightdress caught fire. Her sister eventually got to her, dragged her out into what's known as the gallery, or the long landing, and they wrapped her in some form of cloth and poured water on her. But unfortunately, she was severely burnt, but she lingered for many days before eventually dying, and it's believed that it's her ghost that haunts Tissington Hall.
Along with tobacco smoke being smelt here in the cellar, blue and white lights have been seen with regular occurrence. But more terrifyingly is the image of a man in black walking in this particular area.
So all in all, here we are in an extremely old, fantastic Derbyshire home, but it's very much virgin territory. They've had very few paranormal groups through here, and I really don't know what we're going to get tonight, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Uncharted territory that keenly interests Kieran O'Keefe, so much so that the parapsychologist intends to use this location as a basis for several new experiments.
What do you want to do here tonight, experiment-wise?
Well, given that at the hall, the main eyewitness account is focused on the apparition of a lady in the top corridor where the bedrooms are, what we could do is set up a static EMF meter. It's one thing to have a handheld EMF meter, but you may be picking up extraneous readings even from just actually moving it around. So it's quite important, if that's the phenomena that's recorded, to actually have a static EMF meter and leave it running for an hour or so and see if there's any fluctuation.
There's been many famous cases where supposed paranormal activity is centred around electrical objects. Why is that?
From a skeptic's perspective, it might be associated with EMF. We know from some early research that EMF can affect what's called the temporal lobe in your head, and if you've got temporal lobe lability, it can cause hallucinations. Now, because of the fluctuating EMF, because of high EMF readings, that in itself would affect the electrical items in a room, but also affect the person.
Is there something different with this location that makes it more exceptional than others?
As a skeptic, I'm always looking for rational explanations when mediums come up with information. The primary source of information is the internet. It's readily accessible and it's quite easy to use. With Tissington Hall, the information about the ghost is not available on the internet. There's a few ghost groups that may have visited, and certainly if you've visited it before, you may be aware of the stories.
This will indeed add extra significance to any evidence collected, no more so than with our resident spiritualist mediums Derek Akora and David Wells. Neither know anything of this 400-year-old home or the surrounding land that is steeped further with history and intrigue. And with Derek wanting to begin in the cellar, all of Most Haunted's crew were ready for Tissington Hall.
I feel there's a feeling of hopelessness here, Evie, a feeling of, and also waiting, a patience, and I feel that's born out of, to me, just a quick impression of individual people actually being housed or placed in here at some time. Not, I would say very clearly, to me, it's like not so much a cell, but a place where people were kept or they would have spent time here. I feel it could be people that have got nothing to do with this building. In other words, people from outside were brought here and held.
A holding cell for petty crimes, then?
That's what I feel it is, Kieran, yeah. And I feel at times maybe people would experience maybe scraping sounds, maybe the occasional like voice, but that I feel is like the replay coming from the residual energies, you know, of what they experienced whilst they were here.
When do you think this would have taken place?
Oh, I feel this goes back quite a long way back. You know, it could be something like 1550, 1560, to that period of time. However, even further back to then, what's coming now, again, it's from the residual energy. This may sound crazy, but at some time, I'm just experienced a person, you know, like the times of the Vikings, because I feel there's a Viking, or the energy of a Viking, that goes around this building, and I feel he must have been a craftsman of some kind.
What period of time would you say it was living?
I would just say, if I'm going back to 1500, holding people here, we're probably talking about maybe 400 years before that. So it's way before this building was here.
Just one family have ruled this roost, although they aren't certain if this information has any bearing on the building's past. It may look like a cell, but would any of us be trapped by Tissington's tragic and tormented souls?
Ah!
always a home to just one family. Derbyshire's Tissington Hall appears at peace with this invasion from the most haunted crew. But in a property that once suffered civil warfare, Derek's senses venture even further afield, with references to a 12th century Viking craftsman on this land. Now back on the ground floor, we head to the dining room, an immaculately preserved space that until just a century ago was actually a kitchen.
See, as we've come into this room, there's two gentlemen, two men, and a lady very prominent. Now, I feel that the one gentleman, spirit, and lady are connected. They were here together. It might be husband and wife, it could be father and daughter, but they were connected and they had great, it's like they owned this place. They were, you know, like lord and lady type of energies. But the other one, I feel there was a fear factor with him, and people respected him but felt, oh, we better not do anything. And it was him that I feel had housed people here for their wrongdoings, stealing and stuff like that.
Do you have a family name?
Not yet, Evie.
Right.
What would be heard in here, but I don't feel it's on like a regular basis. It would be, you'd hear laughter, you'd hear people, you know, as if they were eating.
Right,
And noises
so
like
would
that.
be dining room.
Yeah, you get that. But I don't say that you're going to get that on a regular basis.
Right.
Derek's findings were of interest, particularly as he had just been made aware of an imposing member from the family's past. But could he provide the name that links all of these faces with this house? And would we clarify which Fitzherbert he had encountered?
Now, as we come into this room, and I'm coming along the passageway, and I was made very aware when I was talking downstairs about these two men and a lady, apart from the Viking individual. I get this movement coming right along here, and a graceful movement that is born out of the lady. And they seem, for some reason, to be very, very keen to be up here. In actual fact, I would say it's here where they, you know, in visitation, their portal, okay, you know, they come in. William, one of the men is William, and yes, Fitzherbert, William Fitzherbert is the man that comes here.
Right.
Very authoritative, very authoritative.
No, this is husband and wife that you picked up downstairs?
Yes.
So this is around the 1600s then, is that?
Well, I can't say unless that's given to me.
Right.
Go on, who's the other one? The total different one? He comes into these bedrooms. Okay, who is it? So I'm saying Richard. Richard who? Richard who, Sam? Just put it in front of you, go on. Richard Fitzherbert. It's the same link, same family link. Now,
So when were they here? When was William here?
Okay. Now, I'm getting two dates now. I don't know what at this moment who he's referring to, but just quickly flashed. Okay. I just say, one seems to be leading towards 1600 and something, and the other goes way forward. I feel to 1700 and something. Okay.
Right.
So there's a difference of that period of time. Okay. The lady that walks here. Okay. Her first name is Margaret.
Right.
Margaret. What? He's given me also another lady that comes here, Sarah. Now, again, not one of these spirit people are actually grounded here. It's visitation. I don't feel that these lovely souls, they want to keep to themselves. They're a retiring lot, they're a kindred lot. I don't feel any evil whatsoever or bad intent here.
3 doors along lies a far different environment, one that allegedly saw a young female Fitzherbert lose her life tragically a century and a half ago in this room. But what did Derek feel as he stepped into bedroom number 4?
Someone has come through into this room at maybe a regular basis, irregular, and has been talking and left it in the atmosphere about the Duke visiting. The Duke visiting. And they were getting everything ready, and they were the household had to be, absolutely all the staff had to be doing their work because the Duke was coming. Whoever the Duke is, whatever Duke. I've felt all along here that a lot of high esteemed people have actually come and stayed here, and their residual energy, just a tinge of it's still in the atmosphere.
Right.
So it's been in its time, I feel, over its period of time, for how long it's been, there's been a lot of happy, a very busy household.
Derrick's findings appear to verify the tales that Tissington has told for over 400 years, that of a Derbyshire home that holds only austere energies. With David Wells also arriving at the hall, we were able to obtain his reading, and where better to begin than the docile dining room, now far removed from the hustle and bustle of servants scurrying to tend their master's needs.
I don't really sense any activity, if I'm being honest. Even residually, all I sense is... I actually sense a big bench along here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if this has been redesigned. It feels more like a skivvies area.
Oh, really?
Or like a pantry or a kitchen or a, book polishing room or something. I know that sounds a bit...
No,
do you know
but
what I
you're
mean?
picking
The
up on
sense
pictures of what it was before.
Yes.
So you think this was possibly a servant's area or a kitchen or something like that, rather than what it is now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that... it seems odd to me. I was fighting with it because you would expect, because the natural order of things is it's further down in the house, isn't it?
Richard, is that sorry to call in
it's
again?
absolutely correct again. The panelling is quite old and I presume has come from somewhere else, probably another part of the building, but originally this was the kitchen. And that area there, of course, would have been a huge kitchen range, and this is where the cooking with the spits would be there.
Right.
This was the main kitchen for the house.
It was quite a small kitchen for a big house.
Yeah, but of course, remember, it wasn't such a big house in the 1600s.
Yes,
it was much, much smaller stone-built house. And your main hall, sort of down there, they'd have probably dined in there. And this is your kitchen.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't need a kitchen that big.
But for activity-wise, you wouldn't think this is not an active room
It
at all?
doesn't feel active to me at all, no.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right.
So, although correctly identifying its past, David feels that this former service area doesn't resonate with spiritual activity. So I was keen to hear his views on Room 4, the first-floor bedroom that is thought to have witnessed an horrific family tragedy that haunts the Fitzherbert family to this very day.
I'm very conscious of a female. She is, in ghostly terms, a whaler. Ever since I started walking around this place, I've sensed a fire. Now, I can't... My head, my head burns or it feels as if it's burning if we sense a fire. But it seems very much why this woman, she's actually on fire as she's running up and down right through these halls. And I would suggest that that's why people feel, when they sleep in these rooms, they feel that almost like a panic. And it can make, depending on the individual, feel anxious, feel nauseous, whatever. And that's why she's going, I'm here. She just seems to be almost like a nightgown. What I'm sensing is like a nightgown going on fire and flames. And it's almost like, well, she's falling against things. She's setting fire to everything.
Oh, my God.
She is almost demented with the pain. But the interesting thing is, to me, she doesn't appear to die immediately. She doesn't... And I'm just wondering if that's why she's not crossed. Because there is a sense of her convalescing or attempting to convalesce before she dies, but she's building anger. And I think the words that ring in my ears is someone could have tried better. They could have tried more. So someone could have saved her, or at least that's the impression is someone could have saved her.
So they couldn't she wanted them to come quicker?
Yeah.
Just try for me. I really, really want you to try so hard and try and get this name. Even a first letter of her first name or anything to do with her.
They're putting a cartoon character in my head and it sounds like, I don't know if it is her name, but it's like Wilma, because I've got Wilma Flintstone.
Gosh, right,
But
Richard.
it's, you know, that's how
Okay,
it works.
come on in.
Awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't.
Absolutely
I'm
amazing.
so amazed. That is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely right. A young lady was, she caught fire, probably in this room, a candle, nightdress, up she went, screaming for help, and of course, big place, took a long time for someone to come. A sister came to her, and they actually dragged her out onto the landing and doused the flames with clothing, I would think, and then poured water on her. But I'm amazed.
And her name?
Very good. Her name, Wilhelmina.
What?
Don't give the surname. Don't give the surname.
No.
No,
Yeah,
but
Wilhelmina. But can I just ask you, any idea how long it was before she died?
She doesn't hang on long. Maybe 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, not much. Like enough time though. And what's really interesting for me is this desire, the hatred she was starting to, I don't want to use the word burn now in front of her, but do you know what I mean? This hatred that's in her.
The exact circumstances of Wilhelmina's tragic demise may be lost in time, but what is clear both from the Hall's recorded phenomena and now from our psychic sensory powers is that Tissington contains anger so strong. And as day turned to night, we must all be wary, particularly as we were ready to commence the night vision vigils. Whilst Carl and John Gilbert head to the library, Richard, Rachel, Kath, Joe and Ian hold out for an answer from Wilhelmina's room. Room number 4.
You do it. Wilhelmina, if you're in the room with us, can you please try and make some kind of noise? Some kind of light maybe, something so we know you're there. I know you must be really angry about having your life snatched away from you. But we're here to come and visit you and to come and try and communicate with you.
Right, well, we're going into the library. It is strange, isn't it, how a library seems to be quite scary. Oh, I just had a big flash right there.
Wilhelmina, if there's anything you can do, maybe try and make a light. We know you're really strong. We know that you can do something. We know you can show yourself.
Oh, I think I might just do a flashing light then. Wilhelmina Fitzherbert, please, can you give us some sort of sign that you're with us now? Can you smack on the bed like this?
Something, yes, do you hear that?
I did.
Something, yes, do you hear that?
I did.
Oh,
You got...
did you hear something there?
Hello.
Yeah.
A chat.
Did you hear it, Kath? Oh. Oh.
Just be on 50 seconds.
There's a squeak or something. Let's just check there are no cats in here, because it's a cat sort of room.
There isn't. It's funny because there isn't entity of a cat supposed to be here. Just be on 50 seconds. Just be on 50 seconds.
Can anyone please knock on the outside of that door? Who? Who? If that was any spirit at all, please could you do it again?
Whilst Ian's appeal for further activity didn't raise a response, Kath later confessed to feeling very uncomfortable and angry for some unknown reason. Could Wilhelmina's anger have affected Kath? As well as witnessing the feline phenomena that often haunts the library, this is a building that's also renowned for the curious array of lights that often greets its visitors. But are these spiritual energies and their attempts to communicate or even manifest? Were we welcome here after all? Or should some of us fear where to tread at Tissington Hall?
What are we going to do now? Because if we go that way, we're heading towards something we don't want to see.
The Peak District village of Tissington is dominated by one building, the hall that the Fitzherberts have called home since 1609. And it has proved an association of pride and peace, with one notable exception. Nowadays, it's thought that much of Tissington's paranormal phenomena is down to one tragic soul. But do the lights that we have already witnessed signal Wilhelmina Fitzherbert's attempt to communicate? Derek, Kieran and both Johns felt another stay in room 4 to try and communicate with the ghost of Wilhelmina may encourage a further response.
There's a lady who's very shy and covering herself up. However, Sam says she also comes in visitation. And she is... Now we've settled in this bedroom. Is there Wilhelmina here? William? Or Richard? Let us feel your presence. You're most welcome to come close. Use me as a vessel. Hear it?
I did hear that.
Yeah.
Come close, please. Will you come into the bedroom?
I heard like a creaking out there.
Yeah. Will you come close into the bedroom, please? Maybe, I might be wrong on this, maybe Wilhelmina, I feel she's the type of lady that doesn't... Now I've just heard another one out there.
Another noise?
Yeah. Every time while we're talking.
Yeah, do you want to
It's not
stand
one we don't-
outside?
Well, no, I'm not going to stand outside.
Sorry.
I'm going to stand by the door.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I'm going to stick this.
There's strong likelihood that she's...
It's when you're talking about her too, because that happened before.
There's strong likelihood that she's probably been spotted, or maybe she's heard her name talked about a lot. Do you hear that? Was that you, John?
No.
Well, there was a noise there.
I heard it, yeah.
Which direction was it? Was it to the right or to the left? Oh, it's just there, just outside.
Well, if I could hear it from there, that boom must have picked that up, mustn't it?
Yeah, I've got the boom right on the floor, actually.
Oh, right.
But I can't tell which direction it came from.
Someone else wants to speak out, by all means do it.
Wilhelmina, William, if there's anybody... If there's anyone that can hear us, if that's you in the corridor,
There it is again.
Yeah.
That's not the...
It's not the click.
Sensor, is it?
No.
Because that's a click as opposed to... Was that you out in the corridor?
There was another tap.
There's another little rap.
It'd be interesting to know the frequency, wouldn't it?
You mean the time between them?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, they were quite close. Well, just so that you knew it wasn't... I don't know if it was pretty...
If it was regular, you mean if there was a constant?
Yeah, but I don't think they are.
There are long spells where nothing happens.
Yeah.
Aren't there? And then when you're asking out, they happen.
If you'd like us to go, if you want to be left alone, then make a noise or make a sign. Was that very slow?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
So, further auditory phenomena. But despite John's rational thinking into the regularity of the sounds, this was a theory that was disproved, as a playback of our tape showed irregular time lapses between each sound. With no time to rest and a locked-off camera and EMF meter focusing on room 4's adjacent corridor, John Gilbert then joined David, John Dibley, Kieran and myself at the séance of Wilhelmina's excruciating demise, where earlier during a walk-around with Derek, we recorded the sound of what appears to be a child or a woman humming.
most of the staff that were employed were how can I say, very diligent, very vigilant, and were good to the the masters.
I just thought I heard. It sounded like, to me, a child humming a
That's
high-pitched
exactly what I heard.
I looked straight at John, and John looked at me. We were both just puzzled.
How can I say, very diligent, very vigilant, and were good. How can I say, very diligent, very vigilant, and were good.
Could this sound possibly have been the ghost of Wilhelmina? A further investigation would hopefully hold an answer, but what of the other areas in the hall? The basement cellar is one place of particular interest, as it reputedly holds the dark, shadowy figure of a man in black. And despite this prior knowledge, Carl and Stuart felt happy to go down there, a decision that they instantly regretted.
Okay, shut the door. Got it. Just check that. That's it. That's shut.
I've just hated being down these cellars. There's no reason. They've not been used for anything other than cellars, but there's a lot of activity down here apparently, and I'm not happy about being down here. But I think we should go down another one.
Okay, right. Watch where you're going, pal, because it is black. Go on. I'm just going to watch your feet. Is there anybody in here with me and Carl? If so, please make a sign.
Shit. I'm sure someone just grabbed my arm.
Where? Let's have a look.
Just here. It was just like someone who went...
You're joking?
Yeah.
Don't say that.
We're up here in what I would call the first bedroom, where supposedly lots of activity occurs. Wilhelmina, if it was you that was humming or singing before, please could you do it again? Are you in the corridor, Wilhelmina? If you are, please could you walk towards us? Wilhelmina, I understand and I think I'm right that you need help. Instead of writing something, could you move this pen as a sign of yes? It doesn't matter what it makes. Just move the pen as a sign of yes.
Ask her if it's her that's someone's, I think it's her, obviously, put an impression on my head. She's certainly making my face feel as if it's blistered.
That's scary as shit, that, isn't it? Hey? Is there any spirits or poltergeist activity amongst us? Do you wish to do something to us? Do you wish to harm me in any way? Do you wish to harm Carl? What's up?
I just feel like something's behind me watching us. I really do, like I've never felt before.
I'm actually getting the impression that we're being watched by something or someone. I'm not too sure what it is. I mean, it might be my imagination playing tricks on me. I'm not too sure. Very scary indeed.
That was a yes. Okay, that was a yes. Just moving here because I feel that there's something moving in the corridor.
Yeah, I keep sensing movement across the doorway.
I keep sensing movement.
Yeah, just,
I'm not scared. I just want to see. I just want to see. I'm not scared, Wilhelmina. I just want to be able to see you if you're in the corridor. Promise we will not leave here tonight. We will help you tonight. You'll be relieved from this pain and torment. You will. We will help you. David will help you. You know that, don't you? David is going to help you. You will be released from this place and all the pain. You can be with your loved ones.
I'm hot now.
You're hot?
Yeah.
I'm freezing cold.
Are you?
Yeah. Ah! What was that? Ah!
Is that door shut? Is that door shut?
Door's closed.
We should make sure no one was there.
The door's closed on us, Carl. Carl, the door's closed.
I know it's closed, but we should be out there making,
Off, I ain't going anywhere out there. I'm gonna have to stay here. Shit.
But they'll say someone was the other side of the door.
Literally rooted to the spot, Carl and Stuart would for now remain baffled by events in the depths of the hall. Meanwhile, our use of a pen with a planchette had produced just 2 letters, a W and an O. And our confusion at Wilhelmina's apparent reluctance to respond would be made clearer as we move into the bedroom just 1 door away.
Wilhelmina, can you take the piece of wood to where you're standing? Okay. Are we touching you? Are we touching you, Wilhelmina? Yeah.
Wilhelmina, did you see white light when you died? She said, yeah. Okay. And did you see all? Yeah. Did you see all the people waiting for you?
Okay.
So why didn't you go?
Oh, Stu.
What's up?
Oh.
Carl, don't do this to me now.
I'm not.
Don't.
I can't get a grip. I can't get a grip.
Were you frightened, Wilhelmina? Yeah. You're frightened. There's nothing to be frightened of. There is nothing to be frightened of.
What do you want to do? Right, let's just calm down. Let's just calm down and think rationally now and just. What are we going to do now? Because if we go that way, let me just zoom into the door just to get it refocused. If we go that way, we're heading towards something we don't want to see, aren't we?
Please, Wilhelmina, will you help us in this quest? Please, can you do something for us? No. Why not? Why not? Is it because you know that we'll be frightened? Ah. Can you answer something for me, Wilhelmina? Do you think that spirit, astral beings as yourself, won't show themselves to us because they sense that they will frighten us? That's a yes, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a yes.
That's really interesting.
I mean, at the end of the day, if there's something out there, if it's still out there, I want to see it. I don't want to mess about with it, I want to see it.
I'm actually going to say something here now, and this is for the viewers at home watching this. They're probably saying, because I'd say this myself, why aren't we out there now investigating what's closed that door? Well, for the simple reason is, we're scared. No, it's the truth.
I am very sorry for every one of you out there. I know there's some out there that were charged through that door. We've done almost 100 investigations and that still scares me, and I'm still scared. Now I'm getting cold.
What we're doing?
I'm going to try and go through this door.
Most Haunted have encountered several spectacular acts of poltergeist activity during our recent investigations. But the manner in which this door fluently closes left us almost lost for words. It really did seem as though it had been pulled shut by invisible hands. Was this a reaction to the oppressive atmosphere that Carl and Stuart had already been feeling? And how long would they be trapped? Tissington Hall appears to have literally turned on Most Haunted's investigation crew. Our day in Derbyshire began with spiritual feelings of austere energies, but now we were starting to question the motives behind this building's ever-increasing levels of activity. And Carl and Stuart were now frightened by events in the cellar, with their initial feelings of oppression culminating in both men witnessing a cell-like door trap them in. But would this signal the end of their troubles?
You alright?
Just having a peep outside, mate. Just
Should we go and have a look? Come on.
do it slowly. Go on. Hello, is there anybody here? Shh. What's that noise? I'm trying to think of an explanation now. I've got no goosebumps. I've got goosebumps all over me, mate.
Don't like it, Stu.
I've got goosebumps all over me.
I don't like it. It's like.
Ah!
What?
What?
I don't like it. It's like.
Ah! Ow!
What?
Get that fucking camera.
What? What happened?
Ah!
Stu, where are you? What?
Ah!
Stu, tell me what happened? What?
Gee, ah! Hellfire! Ah! Me arm! Ah!
Oh, shit. Who's that? Who's that?
Ah!
Well, it's up to you. Come down if you like. Come down.
What's been happening?
Oh, man, there's so much pain.
What happened, Stu? Just tell me. I heard a noise, but then.
Take your jacket off.
Keep going. It's long.
What's been going on?
What's the matter?
I'm in so much pain, it's unbelievable.
Why? What's happening?
You explain it.
How come we've been hearing you screaming?
Oh, we came down here. And I said to Stuart, I don't want to go in here for some reason. And I kept saying I felt like someone was watching us constantly.
Despite both men suffering within the chilling confines of the cellar walls, both wanted to return, but this time with Derek and Kieran on hand should more mayhem ensue.
The difficulty is that it might have been something to do with the mood of Stuart and Carl, the way they said something, and it's almost impossible to try and replicate that exactly.
And although the desired repeat of supposed poltergeist activity didn't materialise a second time, we felt that something lay within this building's walls that had even the most sceptical of onlookers puzzling over our recorded evidence. Our many other vigils around the hall failed to produce any other phenomena, but one tortured soul does appear to have been prevalent throughout our investigation of Tissington Hall. And before we departed, David kept his earlier word by returning to room 4. Here the psychic opened the door for Wilhelmina Fitzherbert to finally and fearlessly cross over into the light. But whether she chooses to do so remains up to her.
Wilhelmina, please, if you're here, please draw closer to us. We ask with all humility and respect. I think it's best if we leave her.
Yes.
She's actually praying.
And she can go if she wants, can't she, David?
With the doors now open for Wilhelmina, this brings our 24 hours in Derbyshire to a close.
The investigation at Tissington Hall was fantastic. There was apparent paranormal phenomena captured and some very impressive mediumistic communication. One of the repeatable phenomena that we heard was footsteps in the corridor. Having discounted the fact that it could have been one of the motion sensors that was set up by the hall owners, the only possible normal explanation could be that it was something to do with the floorboards in the corridor, or perhaps the window frames opening out onto the corridor, and that because of the climate, because of the temperature at that particular point, it may have been causing what sounded like footsteps.
There were interesting incidents in the cellar. Carl and Stuart were extremely frightened down there. The door slammed shut of its own accord. Myself and Yvette and one or two others went down there after them, and there's no doubt about it, the atmosphere had most definitely changed.
In discussing this particular phenomena with Carl, he makes a very valid point, and I completely agree with him. And that is that the shot of the cellar door does not discount the possibility that somebody was behind it and was actually pushing it.
Ah!
For that reason, we have to be a little bit sceptical of that particular phenomena, and also bear in mind that it doesn't actually match any of the previous eyewitness accounts that come from the cellar.
Tissington Hall is most definitely haunted, but I still think that it is only haunted by Wilhelmina Fitzherbert.
Has Tissington Hall proved to be the property that changes your way of thinking? We leave with a whole host of findings, but has one grounded soul finally escaped the building that so cruelly took her life? Until next time, sleep tight.
When solving the case seems impossible, we turn to Tony Stockwell.
This is the murder scene here.
Psychic detective, new and exclusive to Living TV.
That's in just over half an hour. Next on Living TV, what happens when the cameras stop rolling? Find out next in Most Haunted Extra.